Hello, this is MARSHALgoldpack, and you're listening to my audio log, part 14. So, I want to start with something I probably should have talked about in the last log. There's just so little time. Is one question people keep asking me, and probably this is one of the only things I'm extremely vague on, is the agents, the spies, and operatives that worked for me that were very hush-hush and weren't too oftenly spoke about. If we found out some incredibly epic, wild information that was worth talking about, then I would explain that in, like, I hosted a meeting and I'd talk to the whole clan. I'd be like, the 99th Regiment is suddenly destroying this clan, or they're using J tags or hackers, or etc. If I announced it to the entire clan, then they would know it came from an operative, and we refused to give the name out. There was only ever like 3 people in GOLDPACK that were openly an operative to a lot of the members. Those people would have to be Flame Lord Yoshi, and the gamer tag of the other one is actually trying to escape me. God damn this. I should have my logbook out to remember this. Anyway. You've got to be extremely delicate and agile when it comes down to spies, because spies are an incredibly big double-edged sword that can cut both ways, really. I mean, hell, I lived the destruction of my clan in the second generation of GOLDPACK, and what brought that down was spies from the USSR. Legit, if there's one person who knows how destructive spies can legitimately be, it's me more than anyone. So, I was probably more professional when it came to dealing with spies than just about anyone else I knew in the whole Halo Clan community. And if, like, the most time I've ever had the highest number of spies I've ever had operating in different clans or GOLDPACK at once would have to be about 40 spies, approximately just about more than 40 spies. And people probably think that's crazy. Well, technically it is. I only had a dozen. At that point, I had about a dozen spies I legitimately trusted enough that they knew everything about GOLDPACK and the sensitive details and all. And the next dozen after that would be the medium grade informant that I would keep in need to know bases only. They're on a need to know circumstance where they didn't have to find out every last part about GOLDPACK, and if they asked questions, they would not be answered, depending on the questions. And then you had your average cannon fodder spy. They are always the most common ones to come across, and half the time they're useless, and the other half the time they manage to be worthy. It's kind of like the training style of becoming a spy. You'd come across idiots all the time. They're like, "Can I be an informant or an agent or a spy?" And it's like, oh my god. And most of the time I'd knock them off, but I'd actually message them later and be like, okay, one, never do that in front of people. If you want to be a spy, keep it on the DL. Ugh, it's so annoying telling people that. And secondly, yes, there's a way you can become a spy for GOLDPACK, and I'll tell them that if they seriously want to be a spy and they want to spy in this clan, half the time, to me, they're just looking for a way to get information out of the leaders of GOLDPACK. In other words, they're actually a spy trying to infiltrate GOLDPACK. And the most common technique for a crappy spy to join a clan is to actually become their spy and to get information out of them, and boom, they've just completed their mission on getting information that whatever their mission was, clearly they're going to try and aim towards it. And the easiest way for people to do that, it's not to recruit people, it's to not work up their way to chain command. You gotta understand that spies are normally dumb people. They're not smart. They're half intelligent, half wits. And they'll do it the lazy way. And the lazy way is to join some clan, like, hey, I worked for this clan and I want to be a spy for you. And it's like, oh my god, that's so damn annoying. But I'll be like this, okay, you can be a spy for GOLDPACK. And I'll talk them for a minimal half an hour at max. And they'd virtually get to pick the type of operation I would assign to them. And it might be like, find out this particular information in Shield of Honor. Or find out who this person is and what clan they come from. I'll just give them a straight up task. And most of the time that would be moderate. Not too hard, not too easy either. And if they can actually get that done and come back to me, great. However, if they question why, if they question anything about it, or they keep asking questions and they get agitated on the slightest agitation level on why I'm not answering the questions they are requesting to get information out of me, then that's immediately when I'm like, okay, you're obviously just completely not even worth my time talking to, so goodbye. And that'd be the end of it. Sometimes I'd half pretend to do their mission or give me information that was clearly just bullshit at start, and that'd be the end of it. The only ones that came back and made it would be the ones that actually presented the legitimate information. Because if it was legitimate, half the time, it depends. If I really wanted to know, or like I was actually interested in knowing what I sent them out to do, I'd get a legitimate spy. I'll say, okay, this is how it is. Like a spy on the high level, one that I trusted, and he knew a lot about GOLDPACK, the ins and the outs. I'd be like, look, I've got this information from a low level informant. I want you to go and investigate it. Tell me if it's true or not. Most of the time, if it sounds real and I got them to check it out, they would come back with pretty much the same information because they knew what they needed to do. Like, they didn't have to hunt it, it's already been hunted down. So it was like a quarter of the effort to the original person who got that information. It was really good. So when they come back with confirmation, that's how a crappy level spy can move up to the moderate levels and over time become a high level spy. Very rarely do I get the chance to actually get a high levels agent to be working within the council. Well, actually now it's GPI, but back then it was always the Octagon Council that they were dealt with. Moderate level and above, actually that's false. Only the moderate levels would talk to me. Anyone who was a high level would come into the council and into the council chambers and talk in front of the committee of the Octagon table, the Octagon Council. Everything's Octagon. And like, I've always had second in commands. Mama was the second in command. She was great. She was just amazing. She exactly what GOLDPACK needed. We're just running so well. What was hers? What was hers was mine, and what was mine was hers in GOLDPACK. We shared everything except spies. My agents, my trusted members that would inform me, that would be operating in other clans and come back to GOLDPACK time to time. Game tags I wish not to mention because half of them are actually still with me, which is great. They were not openly discussed or talked about in front of GOLDPACK Mama, and she knew I had people working for me. She didn't quite knew. I made it sound like as if it was only, 2, 3 people. It was more like a dozen. And 2 more dozen fools who weren't really with me. They didn't have my trust. She never even knew that the numbers went to a dozen, let alone technically 40. There were so many useless ones that would go off and I wouldn't even hear from them ever again. Half the time I would, but it'd be bullshit. You could call them a spy, you could call them not. They're really like trainee spies. And the trainee trip is to actually prove they're worth being a spy and send them to a different clan. And it was actually quite great because, about 40% of the time they would come back detected from that clan and that clan would be up my ass. And I'm like, bingo! They're already not a successful spy, but they're certainly great because they just gave GOLDPACK some more conflict. Hooray! Everyone gear up, we're going to do a raid. It was like, I knew all the ins and outs when it comes to agents and spies and espionage. I've had it destroy me. Once you've had it destroy you and you realize just how deadly it can be, it's a lot easier to learn the ins and outs and what to do correctly and what not to do. So, some of the best... It really sucks. I mean, I know some of the spies, probably all of them, they listen to this video. And I just want to let you guys know that it's so great how after all this time you still you have not been detected and you're still out there. And it's really good. They get the best of both worlds. I mean, the ones I trust, they get to know that they're with GOLDPACK. I'm not sure if they're with GOLDPACK to the end, but they're still with GOLDPACK. And not only are they spies, they're pretty much good members for that clan. The only difference is that I'm not even sure if their real loyalty remains with me, but as long as I get what I want or need, I'm happy. And they're with other clans as trusted members, but they're always reporting to me so I can keep tabs on a lot of people. Information is key, and some say information is power. Whatever the hell it is, information is great. You can never have too much intel. Well, if you got big plans like I have. So, some of the best spies, like, I was not the person to use spies to destroy clans like USSR and some other clans out there. Send in spies and get those clans corrupted on the inside to try and revolt against their leader, to get their members to leave, or to try and commit a coup, or take members, purge, whatever. Or even to, sometimes people use spies to ruin a raid. Like, there'll be a spy and then they'll be like activate and they'll get those spies to kill their own members, and it's like, that kind of stuff's just legitimately retarded. I mean, it's completely dumb. It's cool in one sense, but when you're trying to operate a raid properly and follow rules, spies just pretty much make everything stupid. The reason why is because it's a free-for-all game mode, and it's very easy if there was a spy to just mess everything up. A single spy can completely mess up the game, because this is the most common problem when there's a spy in a raid and he starts messing with the clan. If the leader, like let's just say Navcom was versing 99th Regiment, 99th Regiment had a spy at Navcom, and that spy started killing everyone in the middle of the raid. That spy is wearing the armor, or the uniform of the other team. And this happens all the time, and I hear about it all the time. If they activate and they expose the fact that they're a spy by killing their own team and sabotaging the raid, what would happen is that that leader will deal with the spy by, obviously the most obvious thing, removing him from the game. And you know what happens 90% of the time when that happens? The other clan that legitimately owned the spy would be like, no, you kicked our member, you can't do that, it was a raid win. And I could not believe how often this would happen. I'm just like, these people must have so little brain cells floating around up there or something. Like, in what state of mind do they think they can get a raid win just because a spy sabotaged the other team in the middle of a raid? Idiots. Oh god. United Golden Nation tried to do that to me. 99th Regiment has tried to do that to me. Heaps of other clans tried to do that to me, and this is the best thing about GOLDPACK, right? Our members knew our rules, our law, the way we ran a raid was completely fair. And sometimes I think our base was too weak and too fair, and they wanted them to be stronger. I'm like, nah. So whenever I claimed a win, I never had my members ever argue against me, because they knew I would only accept the win if it was completely legitimate. And that's what's so great about GOLDPACK. We would explain to every other clan, we simply don't care. If you have a score like 99th Regiment, we have, 1,000 raid wins and only 5 losses. It's like, oh, so bullshit. We simply don't care. They can call a raid win whenever they want. Because in GOLDPACK, and the way it should be with other clans, the only scoreboard that should matter is that clan's scoreboard. If 99th Regiment is happy with lying about their score, fine by them. If Exodus wants to, or other clans wants to, I don't see why all the clans should be butthurt. Holy shit, I'm rambling. This is technically not even GOLDPACK lore. I guess it does give a good definition of how GOLDPACK saw itself. And so many clans would try and claim a raid when it's like they would have the most, 10 Gauss Warhogs or 10 tanks or 10 modded Falcons everywhere, and GOLDPACK would just be slaughtered at the spawn. A typical raid. And we'd be like, etc, etc, it's a raid when your base is approximately 90% defensively strong, which is way over the top. They wouldn't even understand what we're talking about half the time, and then they'd lose their mind because not a single member in GOLDPACK would hate the idea that we just claimed that as a raid win. It's kind of like Navcom, except the problem is with Navcom is that they got the rules like they got a pig. Like, it's just useless. I've read so many rules in Navcom the way that in a raid you can only have 2 snipers. A bridge can be no longer than a column with no defense. I'm reading all of this and I'm thinking, this is bullshit. Because I've seen so many Navcom design bases that completely follow the Navcom rules and regulations, but the OP is crap. Because they've just been mastered at being OP, but following the rules at the same time. And I'm like, everyone has a different judgment. It's completely out the window. So clans should just follow their own scoreboards, and it works well like that. GOLDPACK did that, and other clans should. And clans shouldn't care so much if the clan they fought against just claimed to win or not. Try not to steer off topic though. It's a really good topic to talk about because I hear about this every day from my informants, and it just kind of makes me glad I'm not even active in the community much anymore, because that stuff was just so annoying. I wish people were smarter. Like, that would be great if people were just more smarter. Anyway. Hell, I suddenly forgot where I was at. Oh yeah, spies and informants. So, my 2 ICs, the second commands I've got back, won't be too familiar about who was my spies. And when Mama was in clan, that's, when GOLDPACK was absolutely in its prime, despite me having that many spies and not really telling Mama about any of them. It didn't really matter, because none of those spies were ever like eardropping on GOLDPACK or Mama. I didn't give a single, till this day, I have not, yes, I've given one order to a spy to investigate Mama, but that's after GOLDPACK bit the dust. Besides that, I've never given an order for a spy to investigate GOLDPACK or Mama. Actually, no, some parts of GOLDPACK I did, but specifically when GOLDPACK was in its prime, when I'm the Mama, was the second command. All my spies were out in other clans, and GOLDPACK did not destroy clans by using spies. However, that's not technically true, because we did mess up clans from the inside using spies. But the real question is, when is it the right time to do that? I was trying to stay righteous, but I just couldn't help myself when you get some snotty clan like the 99th Regiment or Shield of Honor or United Golden Nation where they claim they're big. They have at that time about approximately 100 to maybe even 150 members or 200, God knows. But big enough to have more than 100 members. They claim they're better than you, but despite all of this, they absolutely refuse to do battle with you. And if it gets to a point where they think they're top shit, they think they're better, they refuse to admit they lost any games. Yeah, but the worst of all part is when they refuse to do battle, that's when I'd use spies to take out hostile missions against other clans, to infiltrate their ranks, even long term, to be with them for weeks. And it's not the whole, you don't it's not what most people think it is. They think of some spy sabotaging bases and this and that, and that's not the way that the GOLDPACK spies ran in clans. Is like, if you're clanly and you listen to this, you probably, do you ever have those times where you have someone who you think you trust and they're a really good member, and you tell them, you give them an order to do something, and suddenly they do a half-ass effort and it's not even that sufficient, and you get annoyed at them, but you really don't want to get annoyed at them because you're kind of good friends with them? Yeah, GOLDPACK spies and other clans would do that so much. Unite Gold Nation, 99th Regiment. I mean, a reason why those clans became more slack, dumb and stale sooner is when they stopped actively engaging GOLDPACK. When they refused to engage GOLDPACK, I would encourage more and more of my spies within those clans to annoy people, but not annoy them enough to get demoted or kicked out of the clan. Like, secretively cut corners, and if they ever got the chance to play on a forge map, they'd mess with it, delete one object here or move the object over there, like really mess things up. Add a couple of guns on the enemy side where the attacking team would spawn, so they actually have some good weapons. Like, I saw some recordings of that, it was just great. But yeah. And when it came to recruiting people, oh, this was the best part. Now, the best work my spies ever done is that they get the rank of sergeant, maybe lieutenant or warrant officer, some sort of officer rank, to a point where the leader would constantly be like, okay, we need everyone to go out recruiting. And I'd get those officers be like, yeah, I promise you, I'm going to get you so many recruits. So the leaders or high ranks of that clan would have trust in those spies as members, thinking they'll come back with a heap of recruits, when all they'll do is just fart ass around and barely do anything, just at all, like just enjoy themselves and not recruit a single person, but keep claiming they're recruiting people. And it's probably not good because Dr. Dre would be like, oh yeah, I've got 400 members. And he's probably only got 200 members, but a couple of sergeant rank members saying they've recruited this many people and stuff. It's funny because if the clan leaders are so dumb that they don't write down gamer tags, they don't log anything, if they don't record the gamer tags within their clan, and they're assuming they have 100 or 200 members, you're just like, someone comes along and is like, give me the proof. They can't even give it to you, and they always reply, oh, that's confidential, we're not going to give you the gamer tags. It's like, oh no, that's when it was worth using spies. And so the question people would always ask me is like, do you use spies to mess with other clans to lower its potential to what currently is by the tactics of spies, agents, propaganda, the espionage tactic? The reply, I guess, is yes. But I follow it on an extremely righteous code where if they refuse to do battle, they refuse to treat GOLDPACK with respect. And by respect, I just simply mean being active. Host meetings, be annoying to us. I mean, hell, if they're actively sending heaps of spies in my clan, and we were pretty much having wars with them, even though they're refusing to do wars with us, I wouldn't bother with messing their clan up with spies because they're active. But the second they stop being active and they refuse to do battle, and they ignore GOLDPACK like we never existed, that's when I'd encourage spies in other clans to be way annoying and to just demoralize everyone. But at the same time, try and keep their respect in that clan so I can continue to demoralize everyone. Some of the best laughs I've ever had is when the spies would explain to me in fine detail of just how annoying and messy they've made some arguments in other clans. Oh god, if I had Elgato, I wish I could record so many of those conversations. Like, oh, it's great. Blaming other people for things they didn't even do. It reminds me of some scenarios in Red versus Blue. So great. Oh man. That brings back some memories. I guess it still kind of does, but not really. So, in our prime, at close when we're GOLDPACK just absolutely in its prime, 300 members were just totally and absolutely top shit in the March 2015. We just about fried one of the big clans that we never got the battle because I wasn't too familiar with, and I believe it or not, I couldn't even find the leader of that clan, and I only found out why recently, is because he lost his old gamer tag because he forgot the password and he created a new one. That's Vector Z Satuni. I'm sorry, I barely remember your name. It's not familiar with me. I'm not used to saying Keely names. Anyway, besides the RSL, the only big fish that we never got to truly fry was Navcom and Exodus. And boy, I ironed them off a lot. So, Navcom was just so stingy with his rules that we never got to engage in a massive war because they would not agree with the rules and regulations GOLDPACK follow. We claimed half their bases to be absolutely OP, and they didn't like the fact on our maps we had limited ammunition. They liked how there was vehicles at the spawn, but they hated their limited ammunition part. And the whole rules with defending a base for a flat out hour without anyone leaving, there was just a lot to it, but it was pretty simple. I'd even send them a picture message of the rules on a list to make it easy for them. And yeah, they still refuse. And one of their officers in Navcom even admitted that he loved the GOLDPACK rules, but he said his high rank, the people above him would not accept those rules. And he was right too, they just refuse. Stingy, dumb Navcom. The worst part is I could barely get spies into a clan. Unlike most clans, they actually recruited their members in a good fashion. They made sure they were good. I don't know, maybe they're just good at detecting if they were spies or not. I never bothered getting a hardcore. I only got one good spy in that clan, but it never really worked out because he suddenly stopped being active at that point. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, the only spy who I fully trusted and got the better of me was Flame Lord, and he comes from the 99th Regiment. Funny little Flame Lord. You better get happy, mate, because you're the only spy I've ever trusted that truly got the better of me. He got so close, he got a good juicy assassination, and boy did that make him happy. However, so, try not to lose focus. Navcom was out of the picture. I couldn't really make contact with RSL. They were like lost in the fog. You think I'd find them easily, but yeah, at that time we just couldn't find them. It was weird. They're Americans, and I couldn't locate their pictures or track them down. No videos of them. It was weird. I couldn't find the clan website. It was tricky. Anyway, Mama and me, we fully agreed that the second we found out that Exodus was now neutral / friendly with the 99th Regiment, I almost spewed. I thought, okay, so I'd always like to target big clans, but I knew the Exodus clan was too big for me. They're one of my best officers I've ever had, Orange Slurp. His game tag now is Shaky Orange. He left GOLDPACK to join Exodus. And most of the time when a good member of GOLDPACK leaves to join another clan, I think, fucking idiots. They're only gonna regret that decision, but he joined a clan that I respected. I mean, they were powerful, and it's probably just because I had the commandos, in my opinion. Nonetheless, their clan as a whole was extremely powerful. And because of that reason, I feared that they would ruin my perfect little score of never losing a raid. And I didn't want to lose that score. I'm surprised that I haven't lost a raid to this day, but when they allianced with 99th Regiment, I thought, nah, no way, it's going to be full out war. And we made a huge deal out of that. We talked to everyone. We hosted 2 16-player meetings. It was huge. It was extremely big deal. I messaged 200 members, and Mama did the same thing. Well, I had 2 accounts maxed out with GOLDPACK members, and she only had 1. We got a couple of officers to spread the word, but we let the GOLDPACK nation, all our members, even the inactive ones, got the messages. We let them know on Facebook, everywhere, that GOLDPACK was going to war with Exodus, and we need to train if we are going to beat them. It's probably the only time I publicly said in a message, not only is there a high chance, there is an even bigger chance that we will probably lose this war. And if you want to stop that from happening, then you get off your butt and you give it all. You train, you find out new tactics, you get better with your weaponry, you be a better player before this war starts. And it's probably the biggest training movement since the Great War against the first war against the 99th Regiment. We're back to training like every day. We're trying to train more than we fought other clans. And we fought other clans so we could keep our raid skills sharpened. Like, we didn't really focus on BTB, because with the members Exodus had, I guaranteed we would have lost those BTBs. I guarantee it. It's pretty bad of me to say that, but I just had that gut feeling, and I normally don't go against my gut feeling. It's normally spot on. However, what I did not want to lose is a raid or flat war, and we were training outright on those 2 game modes so hard. But legitimately, about only days away from when we were going to initiate every single spy in Exodus and just go outright crazy and host probably the biggest war in the whole clan community, the most absolute unthinkable happened in GOLDPACK. And so many people had their suspicions, but I put everything I had on the line, and I thought this would never happen. And sure enough, it did. And this is what destroyed GOLDPACK when it was in its absolute pinnacle, when it was in its prime. And if you want to find out, you're going to have to watch the next log. I'm MARSHALgoldpack, and this is my audio log. If you enjoyed it, then I'll see you for part 15. As always, I'll see you on the flip side, Spartans.